with that Breakfast Club cut, you're hearing specifically some Black-owned brand owners who are in Target, if you will, kind of talking about it from their reality. I love hearing that context. Again, that's what I love to do, bring people context and perspective. I also want to highlight, just from a strategy standpoint, I saw Roland Martin talking about the boycott, and he asked people on his show, what is the end game? Which I think is a great question to ask anytime that you are choosing to boycott. So I love that he asked that question. I'm going to say, however, even to a Roland Martin, if you will, however, I think, as the young lady said, boycotting is in our bloodline, if you will. Well, the however to me, to a Roland Martin, is, who I know knows the history, you disregard how specific boycotts that were effective in the past, how specific and focused they were. Not only did they have an end game, but we didn't have a national boycott. It's not realistic, just based on our realistic numbers of what we add to the economy. So even I'm just being honest about this. So even when, for example, a Jamal Bryant leads this boycott, he points out the 29 million that African Americans specifically spend daily around the country with Target. But as I'm always saying, with context, you can't leave out that that's only 9%, because they make 250 plus million every day. And I'm not saying 9% can't be an effective number, but when you just put it as 29 million, it seems like, oh, we spent all this money without realizing, like the young lady talked about, there's some places where they can't go online. So are we going to tell them to boycott? Right? Like, if it's unrealistic, how much of that 9%, can we peel back to even be effective? And then the reality of being 13% of this country, I always highlight, when you look at the history, a focused boycott would be on a particular company in Atlanta, in Jackson, Mississippi, or the side of Chicago where there's 38% Black. You got to have a significant number. But nationwide, we are being silly and emotional, in my opinion, because we cannot effectively move a national company with only 13% of the population when you put our actual millions spent in context of the overall dollars. So I think those, like, even not to call him out specifically, but I think it's leading something that can't be as effective. That's my thoughts on national boycotts. I think they're useless. I think in an individual locality, they can be very effective. But national, I think that's silly. Go ahead.